OASE is an independent, international, peer-reviewed journal for architecture that brings together academic discourse. And in its 96 magazines, the OASE chose the topic of action and reaction. It starts its point from the physical concept and also the concept brought from Hegel, antithesis and thesis.
Hello, I am ZUO.
I'm JING.
I'm Jing.
Today we are going to have a discussion about action and reaction, the article by OASE.
The author brings the concept of action and reaction from the physical concept. And is this the case, the same thing as the thesis and antithesis? Do you think they have to go to the opposite direction when it comes to the architectural field and the theory of architecture?
Well, in my opinion, I think that action and reaction mode is not the same thing as thesis and antithesis, because the theory about thesis and antithesis emphasizes more about the dialectical thing, that the world is kind of like divided into A and B, and A and B is completely opposite to each other. But the reaction is something based on action, although it finds a new way, but it has some connection to it. So I think for the further development for the action and reaction mode, it is better to find out to emphasize more on the connection between them. And it's not very, I think it's too maybe dogmatic to just emphasize their opposition, and that's not very wise.
Is the reaction to the action the same direction? When it comes to the process, will everyone have the same consequence? Then it can be the limitation of the whole method. And what do you think of it?
Well, when we think about the mode of action and reaction, we shouldn't just limit their directions, I think. Actually, from one action, there are millions of possibilities about what reaction will be. Everyone will have their own reaction based on one action. So people have different understandings. So actually, there will be various consequences, and it will not limit the creation or innovation. So actually, there's a lot of things you can do from one action. So it's not a limitation.
From the action and reaction passage, we get to know the method of developing architectural theories and works is to react to the action in architectural field. And somehow, it is a limitation for architects to be instructed by other disciplines.
Yeah, I agree. To emphasize autonomy in the process of designing can be efficient in the past decades, but less meaningful nowadays, especially for our future life. I would like to show you some example I have of biologically inspired architecture, structure, and form. And here are some resources I got from the internet.
Life object is a material exploration of the relationships between the artificial and the nature in the future-built environment. Its starting point is nature's iconic model of a home, the bird's nest, an assembly of weak and light-found materials with no additional joints or glue, out of which emerges a free-form complex structure that is extremely light, robust, and highly resilient.
Oh, that's a good example of how other disciplines provide new methods to develop the material and the structure or even the mode of living in the future life. And we should not neglect the fact that nowadays architecture also inspires other fields like fashion industry, virtual reality, mechanical engineering, and user interaction in design.
Actually, I have another example that I want to share. There is a hit game called Monument Valley, which claims itself as a world of impeccable architecture, geometry, and landscape twists. It blurs the boundaries between two-dimensional drawings and three-dimensional model, and makes use of the visual illusion to design the most exciting part of this game. It is based on architectural concept, but provides totally new experience of exploring and building architecture.
Well, it's also very interesting to think about the mode of action and reaction in the current area. The OASE journal actually is very pessimistic about that. You say they mentioned in the passage that the modes might have disappeared with the 20th century.
Yeah, what they talk about this makes a lot of sense. The current era calls for individualism, with everybody comes to express their own ideas. The internet helps knowledge to grow exponentially, but maybe no one or only a few of us really have the time to be critical, reflect on what has been put forward. We may remark and respond to what others have done, especially on the social media and website. But most of us start from something new when we're going into our own researches.
Well, actually, I have different views on this. The scope of action and reaction can actually be very wide.
Actually, what OASE defines on action and reaction has quite a lot of emphasis on the sense of legitimacy as to maintain the very cautious and strict academia sequential inheritance. They insist that the action must be very comprehensive reflection and analysis on what has been previously explored on theories.
Of course, we respect highly on the scholars who devote their life to the strict and rigorous academic researches, and they are actually the very group of people who are pushing the boundaries of our disciplines. But at the same time, we have to admit that we are living a life that is accelerating all the time. And almost everything right now needs instant responses. So why couldn't we include the responses on the social media to be a member of the reaction? These responses may be not systematical, but it doesn't mean that none of them has its meanings.
And what's more interesting is that the social media makes everyone has access to other people's remarks and thoughts, and it becomes a platform gathering different ideas. The internet is the place where individualism is infinitely amplified, but at the same time, it is the best place to reveal collective opinions when you see it as a whole. So all these responses are unofficial reaction, or at least potential ones. What they need is to be organized, and they may even become the object for further reaction.
And there's one thing we shouldn't ignore on this. The architecture websites and social media maybe is right now on the #1 resources that students get information from. It's very common that students may spend more time looking for references from the websites than books or other traditional media.
I think nowadays every architecture student look about ArchiDaily or other websites. The #1 website of architecture category, archidaily.com, received more than 7.7 million visits alone in last July. And we could not overlook the great influences that architecture websites have upon the professional education of the whole generation.
It's very common that instead of reacting to the existing theories, more students may react directly to the references posted on the internet, though this should not be encouraged from the long-term view of study. But what I want to say here is the action and reaction mode actually covers a very large field and does not necessarily need to be limited to the specific kind mentioned by the OASE. This may provide more perspectives for the mode of action and reaction in the era of technology.